Kicking off the main card, guys. Probably one of my favorite fights in a long time. And I'm just falling in love with the flyweights, right? Mudaerji and Manel Kape. I know that Manel Kape has such a crazy following because you can just see a lot of the diehards that have, kind of stuck themselves to him since the rise and stint and coming over to the UFC. And for me, Mudaerji's actually been that fighter as a flyweight. I love the size. I love the length. And, you think about how he came up through the UFC, one of these pandemic fighters that I absolutely love. He started off with a loss and he ripped off 3 straight wins over Gordon, Sukmandat, and Adashev. And I really want to say time is flying, ladies and gentlemen. The fact that Adashev was the last fight that we saw Mudaerji in, I don't know if I dream about this kid like on and off basis, but it blows my mind that was the last time I saw this kid compete. But there's a couple areas where both guys, I think, have very serious paths to victory that I want to touch on. And for Mudaerji, it's the distance striking. If there's one difference here that I really think we need to hammer home, it's the length. It's the length and the inability of Manel Kape to avoid strikes. You look at his striking differential, it's not very good. The thing about him that's so beautiful to watch is the movement. Even though he gets hit, he moves and lands too, kind of thing. And, you look at the numbers. Strikes landed, 4.69. Strikes absorbed, 4.59. So he takes shots. He takes a lot of shots. That's why his fights are so close. And that's why, even you talk about the Nicolau fight, which was his second fight in the UFC, there's a case for him to win that fight via split decision as well. So I just think that with Manel Kape, we've got a guy who had to take on the UFC's best. You talk about coming over from Rise and putting together the record they did. How do you go into the UFC and fight Alexander Pantoja? How? I was blown away by that being his debut, and I swear to you, that was one of the easiest decisions, both betting and picks-wise, I've ever made in the history of MMA. And the reason why is I know Alexander Pantoja like the back of my hand. We might as well be friends because he was him, Kai Kara France, and Brandon Moreau were the 3 guys that made me fall in love with the flyweight division a very long time ago. In fact, it was that Tough that I always bring up that featured Dimitri. We couldn't find anybody to fight Demetrius Johnson. So let's just create a Tough to bring all these guys in from all over the world and see who we can get to fight him. Tim Elliott won and ended up putting on a great show. Anyway, Manel Kape, Pantoja into the Nicolau fight. Decision, then a split loss. If I was starting a UFC career at flyweight and those are the 2 guys I fought, I'm praying to the heavens that those 2 fights go very well for me. Then you get a little bit more realistic matchup. And I don't mean that from a Manel Kape skills perspective. I don't care how good you are. There is levels to this. And the simple fact is you don't go into... And I'm sure as a fighter you don't care. But from a business perspective, from an employee perspective, it just doesn't make sense for me. So when I look at Manel Kape, the Oda Osborne fight was kind of my, okay, let's start seeing the Manel Kape that I want people to start falling in love with. First round finish with a flying knee. Finds his groove. Then we go to the Zalga Zumagulov fight. First round. So now Manel Kape's starting to find his range. He's starting to find his footing in the UFC. And that's where I'll always remember the Nicolau fight because I thought he did so well in terms of movement. Manel Kape is going to make me drool every time I watch him fight because the way his feet move, I don't know if he was a soccer player in the past life. Maybe it's a Portuguese, connection for him. But my word, his feet are quick. His hands are quick. And the only issue I have with him is he's willing to take one and dish one. And that's where it kind of sets him back. Mudaerji, Pat's the victory, right? Keep that distance. Land those big shots. Find those power shots. He takes a lot of damage. But on the Kape side, let's look for some takedowns, man. Let's surprise these guys. I really believe there's an opportunity for him to change levels. He's been able to get some takedowns in his UFC career before, and I think this is the perfect fight for him to try and explore that in terms of game plan. Switch it up on Sue. He's going to expect a big standing fight. If you get this to the ground, at least tire him out. It also eliminates his power factor, and you can start finding your range, because the one thing about Adashev was he started landing more as the fight went on because he was finding his range with a much lengthier fighter. And if Adashev can do it, by George, Manel Kape can do it. So I love both of these guys so much, and I really think that if it's a great fight for both, there's no fight I would love to see a split loss / win more on this card in recent past, because this is the future of the 125 division. These are the guys that are going to keep us entertained for a very long time. And I really like Tszyu as a distance striker, but in this fight, he's taking on a guy who's a crazy good athlete, who's got great footwork and sees punches well. I think the one thing about Kape is he's so willing to take them because he can see them and dish one right back. And this is a fight where I would love to see the level changing. I want to see Manel Kape, the mixed martial artist, come out of this fight. And for Tszyu, it's like, stick to the game plan, man. Use the distance striking. Try and get those. Fight a point battle if you can't get him out of there. It's just that simple. And so right now I'm leaning Manel Kape as the favorite. And the only reason I say it is the movement is so clean. And he might have a huge advantage here on the ground. I've just seen him kind of explore that a bit more. Whereas with Mudaerji, a lot of the Asian fighters coming out of that similar area, the Shanghai PI, and he's very close with a few of those other fighters. I just don't see They might have a wrestling game. They might have the ability to get top position. And they might have the ability to hold guard from the bottom. But transitions, finding opportune ways to get into, much better areas on the ground and defend those, I just don't see that much from them. So I like Kape. Right now I got a minus 160 line written down here. But I think it could actually be higher. So let's take a look here. God. Ladies and gentlemen, your boy is an absolute tank. Minus 160, Manel Kape. Now moving up to about minus 170 to minus 175. Mudaerji, plus 120. Now moving up to about plus 150 with the same line moving on Kape. Always got to balance it out. And I agree with this line, obviously, right? I think that Manel Kape just has more options to take this fight into different areas, whereas Mudaerji is going to be a distance striker with good power, looking to land big. And the one thing we know about him is he's going to be able to do some damage with a guy like Kape, who has pretty much a 1-to-1 striking differential. So that's a great fight. Going to be a beautiful one to kick off the main card. And frankly, I wouldn't have been upset if that was the main event.